Today I'm in Aberchurder, or Fogey as it's more commonly known locally, and we're about to record an interview that I'm genuinely looking forward to. Today we get to meet the very first person chosen to be the live singer on Aeon The Gathering. This is part of something bigger, an amazing social compact called Finn Moray. So let's go and meet them.
They drew the lines in 1764. Gordon's grid across the PT floor. With flax and stone he built it square. Each house with garden, each street laid fair. No spires to boast, no marble frame, just soil and skill and a working name. We still call it Fogey when the light runs low, when the sky turns pink and the lamplights glow. You can change the sign or the name on the bus. They call it Aberchurder, but it's Fogey to us.
Adele, it's lovely to be here today. Tell us first of all about you and Fogey and how you grew up, where you grew up here.
Aye, so I'm Adele and I am fae Fogey, and I've always been fae Fogey. I was kind of grew up in the middle of Fogey, so North Street. I mean, it's not very big, but the middle of Fogey in North Street. And I've had a lot of connections to Fogey still. My families are still here. My mum, dad, sister, grannies, granddads, extended family and all, so it's mean a lot to me. But I was kind of sort of grew up. My granny and granddad owned and still do own the chip shop in Fogey. My granddad's no longer here, but my granny is. So a lot of my time when I was younger, it was a family business. So it was my mum and my auntie working there. So it was kind of me and my sisters, the young kids in the back, kind of causing havoc whilst the chipper was being run. And I still think that, obviously, as I grew up, I then started to work there. It was kind of far. It's like almost like a hub for Fogey. Folk would come in. Sometimes stories would be happy, sometimes not so, and it was almost like therapy. It is just like a village. It's a village thing, isn't it? So folk will come in, tell you stories, and I think that's where I learned how close the community was and how to be sort of like a people person, and for I maybe learned how folk come together and just so I feel like I was lucky to be brought up there, and I've been lucky that we've had the chip shop to, for me and my family.
So the chipper clearly would have been a big part of your life growing up. Were there any other parts of the town, the village, that were also instrumental in shaping you and who you are?
Mm-hmm. So I would say the school itself was probably a big part of making me me, and that's where I met my closest pals, and we're still very close today. My best friends are from there, and they still live here, and we'd still do a lot of things together. But now, rather than being friends for school, we've now friends with our own kids, and they also then go to the Fogey school, so it's quite nostalgic in a way as well. So yeah, but it's also far when my music was probably kind of picked up. So I was been musical, but there would be music teachers would come in, and when we did shows, I was often kind of maybe chosen to do like a solo or to do something. But I remember primary 7 had a really she was musical, the primary 7 teacher when I was there, and we did a primary 7 show, and she was a really good support, I remember, in primary 7 as well. And it was kind of the stage where you kind of go from primary to academy, so it's like, a kind of turning point when you're moving, and I was always a bit sorry, I'm panicking here.
It's really, really good.
Yeah, no,
you
just come along very genuine. And
I'm just like, hi. Sorry, this is just a lot.
It's not every day you've got everyone's peeling out.
Honestly, I'm just like, I'm thinking about my life, and I'm like diverging into like.
I'll just push your hair back.
It's in it, I guess.
No, you're smashing it,
So
you were talking about primary 7 moving up to first year, and just that time, very important time for you.
It was also a difficult time because I was classically trained, so I've had a really good singing teacher that I'd got in touch with, and I was classically trained. So although school was some of the best times, there was obviously times I was teased a little bit because I was classically trained. So it did come with its challenges, but I would say that teacher was one of the teachers that probably kind of kept me going. So like I'm grateful for the school in terms of, you know, the support that I did get when I was there. So
You've touched on the chipper, the school. Are there any other places, any other memories that burn bright for you all these years later?
well, I always speak about Fogie Show. I always think that's a very a very like prominent memory that I always keep. I always think that Fogie Show was one of the things where you felt like the whole village came together. It was like a big reunion of Fogie. People that had left would come back, and you just the general like wider community of Fogie as well. There would be so many people would come to Fogie, but it was the little parts that Abdi did to mark the show. So my other great and granda were like really good gardeners, so they used to win a lot of trophies. So they were very involved in it. So me and my sister were often in their garden with, you know, the trophies, and they were a big part of it. And then just in general, you know, like the crafting. So they call I know the song that's been written, we spoke about kind of crafts and Kirk and trade. So when you look at it, it's like all the crafts that we did at the Fogie Show. I remember being young, and you'd get the book and you'd be like, right, what vegetable modeler we're going to make today, because so it was really good. And then you'd enter them, and then you'd walk up and be so excited to see if you got a prize. So everybody, you know, then the older generation would be knitting or, you know, baking. So everybody kind of came together, and it was good. And then beside, as well as that, as you grew up, you grew with the show. So as you're younger, it was the craft. Then when you kind of got the teenage years, there was like the waltzers was a big thing for us. So me and my friends would go around on the waltzers, and that was kind of like a pinnacle point for the show. But the floats was one of the most memorable things of the show as well. So everybody, it's where the groups came together. So you would be here, like I was obviously but I was in the guides at one point. I was in the brownies. So when you were younger, they would create a float, design a float, and you would go around the village on the float, and everybody, the streets would be full. It was good fun. And it was good fun also, you know, taking part in it and making the floats and designing the floats. So like all your groups as well. So we had like the rural used to do a float. There was, you know, guides, brownies, but also just general friends and groups would come together. And it was just such a buzz in the village. It was just, everybody came together. Abdi was happy. And then as I got older, you got to night time and it was the marquee. So that was also really good fun. But in terms of the chipper, because it was like the busiest day of the year for us, we were always late for the marquee because we were always working first. So we were always late, but we didn't mind because the chipper was always buzzing. You know, the village had such a good atmosphere, and even in there, you know, it was, everybody came in, it was like really good banter. It was just a really good time. And it's one of the things that I felt like when folk came to Fogie, you were almost like proud. You were like, it's just Fogie, you've came to like our village, and Abdi's having a good time. It's like a sense of pride of, you know, Abdi coming together and just enjoying it. I mean, it has stopped now. And I do always hope that maybe someday it might come back in some shape or form.
You're speaking with such warmth, such affection for Fogie. It's clearly somewhere that has given you something that perhaps you might not have got elsewhere.
Yes, I mean, I remember when I went to I went to college in Aberdeen, and you know, most of my friends would have, has said, "Oh, you're gonna get like a flat there." I'm like, no. I was like, I'm not leaving Fogie to bide in Aberdeen. I was like, no. I goes, I'm just gonna drive. I'll just drive. So rather than get a flat, I got a car. So got my car. I would driving out every day to Aberdeen. It's not that I've nothing against bigger places. I mean, they're great. I mean, I have stayed, you know, there with my friends, and when I was in college, obviously had nights with them in their flats and things. But it's gone into a nightclub and not knowing anybody, or gone into a shop and you didn't ken anybody. It was very alien to me. Like, you go to the shop here and you ken everybody, and you maybe ken something's happened and you're just making sure they're okay. Or so it was really different to, like, if it would feel different for me to be in a place where you'd go somewhere and you kind of got like almost like the comfort or the security of kenning the people that's around about you. So that's probably why I'm still.
Let's talk about the music then. You've touched on it a few times. Where did that love for music come from? So my mum, I said when I was little, she would there was like fiddles on the TV, and she said, I was a baby, I'd be kicking my legs. If when they went off, I'd be crying. So I think she probably used that as a way to soothe me. So maybe it's been there. I know my granny was musical. I think she used to do music
back in the day. So it's maybe from them, but I think I got a karaoke machine at Christmas. And so Meatloaf, Meatloaf was our firm favourite. We had the Smurfs, and we had Wet Wet Wet. That was them. I've got videos of them. That is my. So you can probably tell my mum and dad's kind of tunes that they liked for that. So I've got videos of me at 2, you know, blurting out, and I'm still a big fan of Meatloaf today, to be honest. So I think if that karaoke machine came at Christmas time, that was it. And then so me and my sister were very, very close. So it was us, every New Year, my granny and granda used to have, well, it was first footing. So the locals would come into the house on New Year. And it was just like, if anybody in Fogey, they just knew that was where people would be. So me and my sister was like, right, we'll get a performance. So every New Year we would get a performance practiced, and we would take the karaoke machine. We had lights, we had a smoke machine, a bubble machine. We had it all. And then when folk would come in, we would sing, and they would join in. I mean, it could be Flower of Scotland, it could have been Auld Lang Syne, but it could have also been Spice Girls. So it was a very varied, you know, sort of performance that we did. But it's kind of when I realised it, and you seen folk be happy, and that's what I probably like to see, is folk being happy. So when we sang and folk, you know, would cheer or would come and join in, or would, you know, we would all be standing there, my granny, my granda, my uncle, or, you know, folk that bathed in the next street. It was just a good feeling. Like you felt like you were making people happy through music.
And you got a lot from it quite clearly, but was there one particular moment where you thought, music could actually be the future for me?
I think so. I joined a choir in Banff, and I think it was just because I liked to sing at the time, but the teacher from there kind of took me aside and said, I think, you know, we could, like, you know, I think you've got maybe something, we could maybe work, maybe give you some lessons. So I didn't really look for lessons myself. She kind of pulled me out and took me for lessons. So she was called Anne Monroe, and I think if it wasn't for her, I probably wouldn't be singing. I'll get emotional.
No, but you need people like that, don't you, to believe in you.
I think she kind of took me aside and was like, no, you could sing. And she had a cousin that had like a studio, so she would take me and do some music and some recording. So I've had like small snippets of, you know, experience, do things like that. But she taught me right from maybe age 6 or 7, right until I went to music college at 18. And she was the kind of person that she was like, oh, she goes, but you know, I'm doing this for you. She goes, she was very selfless, you know, she did it because she loved it, not because she felt she was going to gain anything from it, if that makes sense. And maybe she was also maybe gaining a sense of, she was maybe like, she was working on me, some kind of sense of pride, or I don't know, but you know, it was very much, she kind of took me under her wing. And I think that was when I thought, oh, maybe like I could sing, you know, like we did a concert once at Brodie Castle in Feige Castle. And I remember standing there like singing Ave Maria, and people would come up to me and be like, you know, your voice, you know, they would always say, your speaking voice doesn't sound like your singing voice. So, like, I think then I was like, oh, you know, maybe I could actually, like, sing, you know, maybe I could, you know, do it as more of a, you know, not just as like a kind of in the karaoke machine at my granny's, you know, so I think I was lucky that I had joined that choir, and I'm very grateful that she took me under her wing.
So was it at that, I mean, clearly, as you've highlighted, you had a very eclectic music taste, given what you were singing in the karaoke machine. Was it around that time that you felt you began to feel your voice, that you could really identify yourself in the music?
Probably, yes. I think it's been a progression, isn't it? I think it has probably progressed a lot. So when I was taken for singing lessons, I was classically trained. So I think it obviously is a very different style to, you know, the music that I was kind of brought up with. But I think it was still, so when I came, like obviously as I started to sing, I then got piano lessons, and as I started to write, I suppose I kind of sort of started to get my own voice and my own identity. And I think a mixture of the lessons and, you know, the from before, I think, but my voice kind of came from, I say maybe more personal experiences, and that's how I kind of found my voice when I started to write. So that's probably how I became, like, you know, Adele rather than Meatloaf or Wet Wet Wet.
I mean, is it something to this day that, I mean, clearly family life does take over, you have other responsibilities, but is it something to this day, finding those words, the music, the singing, that it still resonates so strongly with you?
Yes, I think so. When I started to write, I was just through. I think I didn't really realise until later in life that when I was writing music, it was how I coped with life. If that kind of makes sense. So when I wrote songs, just school. Obviously, I've spoke about school. You know, sometimes you'd be teased for your voice, or so I would write about that, and it was how I expressed how I felt. Now at the time, I was just doing it. I didn't really think about it. I just would do it, and it was how I coped. And I remember, if at that time when you fall out with friends and things, it's a big deal when you're younger. I remember like writing the song, going into my music teacher, I'm like, I've written a song and it's all about, me and my friend falling out, which seems, but again, at the time, I'm realising that's how I'm coping with, like how I felt at the time. I was just doing it because it was natural to me to do. It wasn't until after then I had my granddad. He was like the biggest loss. Like he was the first big loss I'd ever had in my life was my granddad from the chip shop.
Well, it's understandable. I mean, it is going to drive. Of course it is.
I don't normally cry because I've spoken about this before, so I'm so sorry. I'll just breathe.
Well, there's no need to apologise because it's clear it's a big moment for you,
Yeah.
And inevitably, when you're talking about your life and your experiences, it's going to come back. So don't worry about that.
So I wrote. It was called Memories. So that song, I couldn't sing it at his funeral, but I recorded it through my singing teacher, and God played at his funeral. And then when I lost my other granddad and granny, it's also, so sorry. So when I lost my other granny and granddad, it then has been played for them too. But at the time, I didn't realise that was what was getting me through those losses. But after I had kids, life takes over. So you still have challenges in your life after having kids, but I didn't have the same time for my piano and for singing. So I did have a little bit of a tricky time after having my daughter. So I did get a bit, anxiety took over. And it wasn't until when I got married, which was a few years after I'd had my sort of anxious episode. I got married when she was 2, and I wrote the song for Walking Down the Aisle. And that was when I kind of had basically dragged my piano back out underneath all the piles of kids' clothes. And I remember writing the song thinking, that's why I've struggled with my daughter, because I've not had the outlet to cope. And that's when I thought, that's how I cope with life, it's through music. And it wasn't until, that was probably the turning point. I was like, maybe if I had my piano, I wouldn't have had, that moment after my daughter. I might have. So that's kind of when I really made the connection that music was how, doesn't just make me happy, but it's also maybe almost like a therapy. It's kind of how I cope with challenges. It's like my outlet almost.
Yeah, and it's helped you cope not with the desperately sad parts, but also the happy occasions, the uplifting parts of life.
Right. Aye, definitely. Yeah, so as I say, so when I got married, I was like, a musical, I want to do my wedding song. I wanted it to be me. I didn't sing it, Go Down the Aisle. I was like, no, I'd like to record it. So I just recorded it at home, and yeah, so because it was a happy thing and I was excited for it. So it also is very much to express the happy things as well as the challenging times as well. But
and this is another happy thing that we're unfolding into right now. So talk to me about the project and how you first became aware that there was this song out there about your hometown, your home village.
I'll be honest with you, it came up on the Fogie Folk page. So I think David had shared it under Moray, which is the pseudonym for the project. So it came onto Fogie Folk, and I'm looking like, I don't know this person. He's Nathan Fogie. But they've written a song about Fogie, and I'm thinking, wow, I was like, that's really, and I thought, why have I never thought of that? But I did think, that's amazing. I was like, he's written a song about Fogie. I was like, so we went on, and obviously I had been tagged in it through the villagers, so some of the local villagers, because I'll go back, sorry, I've kind of jumped ahead. The post had actually said they were looking for a local singer in Aberherder, in Fogie or in Aberdeenshire, to sing the song about Fogie that's got a connection to it. So I'm sitting going, wow, this is like, as I say, like I've kind of given a backseat my music with having kids and things. So when this came out, I'm like, this is like a dream come true. I was like, I couldn't believe somebody's written a song about Fogie. I mean, I would never have put my name forward for it though, because I'm very like, I'm not good enough for that. Somebody else could probably. but I had a few of the villagers tag me and were like, oh Adele, Ken, you could maybe do this. And then my sister, being my sister, we're very close as I said, but she's probably like, she supports me and keeps me from probably, she kind of pushes me would be the word.
Yeah.
So she then had messaged me about an hour later, oh, just so you know, I've emailed and put your name forward for the song. And I'm like, oh, it's so great. But I know I wouldn't have done it. So I'm glad that she had. So I do need to thank her for that. Well, in some ways, I'm very much in my comfort zone. But no, so she put me forward. And I still actually kind of believe there has been a song written about Fogie, even like now. I kept saying, but why Fogie? Like, why would somebody write a song about Fogie? We're at such a little place, we're like in the middle of nowhere, like with nothing really special or exciting, apart from the people obviously, but you know, I'm like, why about Fogie? So when David told me the reason why he'd written Fogie, I was like, I still think it's unbelievable that he's written the song, and I still kind of believe that it's about Fogie.
See, the first time you heard it, what resonated most with you, listening to the lyrics and just immersing yourself in the song?
So it was when I listened to the song, it was honestly, it kind of took me back a bit. I was a bit like, it's a very catchy tune as well, and it really puts across like a sense of pride. Like the chorus is very uplifting. So when it's like they call it Aberhurder, but it's Fogie to us, it was very much like, yes, it is Fogie to us, and it really, like, it gave me shivers. And then the more I think the song went on, the more I was like, this person really knows about Fogie. Who is this person? Like, so it did come across like that. It was like, wow, like he's really captured the sort of community in Fogie and the people in Fogie really, really well. And I did actually laugh because one of the lines was like, a takeaway now stands where tales were spun. And I remember thinking, oh, like, I wonder if that's because the chip shop years ago used to be a doctor's surgery. And obviously it's my granny's chip shop, so I'm thinking, is that about the chip shop? That would be kind of like, that's my family shop. Would it be about that? But we do also have, there's the square, there's a takeaway in the square as well, which used to be, well, it was actually Bingo Brenner owned that shop up there, and it used to be a corner shop, and people would have gone in there for their paper. So it could have been there that the tales were spun as well, but the fact that like my granny had the chip shop and I knew it was a doctor's as well, I'm sitting going, that kind of like really almost felt like a nod to like my family, if that makes sense. So I did kind of think, oh, like I wonder if that's been written about that. So that stood out a bit because I was like, oh. But just the song in general, it was very much like it kind of gave you shivers, made you, and it is really emotional to listen to. Just thinking about people in Fogie coming together and just the way that most of us feel about Fogie and living here and being brought up here.
And as you started singing it, started practicing, I suppose, just trying to find your own voice within it, did the song change? Did any of the meanings change for you throughout that process?
So I was standing in my bathroom singing with the door locked because kids are trying to get in, so I'm like locking the door in the bathroom. I think as I went through it, I think it took me back to think more about the actual history of Fogie, and like looking at it, I'm thinking, it made me think about how, which is actually quite unbelievable, that, it was built, well, not built, it was established, like more than 260 years ago now. And I mean, you take for granted that when you were brought up here, you just call it Fogie. You didn't really think about, well, you do think about why, but you didn't really think about, it's Aberhurder. We just say Fogie. Or if the people's not from Aberdeenshire, and you think they're from further away, you'll say, oh, I'm from Fogie, but it's called Aberhurder, so that they can just, double check. So I think it made me really think about how the generations before, who are like no longer here, that called it Fogie, are, they're away now, but yet we're still very much stuck in the roots of Fogie, and it's never, been anything else. So I think it kind of took me back thinking like how everybody from before and how they've shaped how Fogie is now as well. So everybody's had their part in history to make Fogie. So it kind of took me back.
And do you feel that you performing this song will now become part of that history? It'll become something, won't it, in the decades to come, that people will be aware of, they'll be able to look back on and listen to? It's
a big question. I mean, I would love to think that I played a part in Fogie. I think that would be like an honour to feel like you're part of the village. Or, I have written the school, primary school song, when they had their 50th anniversary. So to think that I'm actually writing a song about the whole of, well, singing, sorry, not writing, David did all the hard work. To think that I would be singing a song about Fogie and to, you know, to be part of the history would be, oh, it would just be like it's like a dream, you know. I mean, I ken Fogie's just little, but to me, it means a lot to me. So it's just very strange.
I mean, clearly it's a place that's in your heart, and I would imagine you feel a real sense of pride to think that you're going to be involved in this project.
It's quite emotional. Should I go again? Like, it is emotional because obviously, take a breath, Adele. My family are all from Fogie. A lot of my friends are from Fogie. And like all the challenges that you face, I think a lot of people from Fogie come together to support each other. So sing a song about how Fogie, the community is and how close everybody is, if you feel like kind of honoured to be able to do that.
How do you think that, I mean, you know everybody in this place.
Well,
how are they going to feel when they hear, you know, a local lass singing this incredible song about this, what is clearly, given everything you've said today, just a remarkable wee village?
Well, I hope they're happy. No, I hope that they do. I mean, as I say, like I've sung quite a lot for the village, but not just like, as I said, I've never really advertised myself to be like, you know, a singer. I mean, I think when I was in college, obviously it's different now. You've got social media where you can kind of push things out. But when I was in college, there wasn't the same social media presence. So it was all kind of through people that knew you. So because I think I've sung, it's, you know, quite a lot of, I mean, I've been supported by Fogie with my singing, I would say. So like, as I say, the schools asked me to do their song for their 50th anniversary. When the King's coronation, the association asked me to sing for their celebration. There's coffee mornings I'm quite often asked to sing. I've sung at a lot of Fogie weddings, and I have sung at even funerals in Fogie. So like one of the big characters, Bingo Brenner, I once sang at alongside at his funeral, and that was a big thing for me because he's a big Fogie character, and like I felt privileged to be able to do that. So it's something I've really thought too much about before until doing this. And as I'm, you know, when I was going through thinking about all the things I've done, I thought Fogie itself and the folk here really supported me in terms of, you know, inviting me to sing all these things. So I really hope that I can do the song justice for the folk of Fogie, and I hope that they're like happy and proud that it's, you know, somebody from Fogie.
And I'm sure you're getting a lot of support from family, from friends who know that you're
100%.
embarking on this.
Yes, so I laughed my pal. She messaged me this morning and she's gone, so what is going on today? I was like, apparently, I've got some cameras coming. I'm getting interviewed, and she's like, are you sure this is legit, Adele? I'm like, I'm sure it is. I goes, they've been at my house. She goes, okay. She goes, I'm just finding this really bizarre that you're getting a song about Fogie, and I'm like, so am I, but we're rolling with it. I was like, so yeah, but my sister, I mean, you know, my mum and my dad, my granny's delighted. She's, you know, obviously she's a very big part of Fogie now. So everybody that I've spoken to, like my close family, are, you know, they're delighted. I think when we were brought up Fogie, so it's very much like well, you know, it is almost unbelievable. So I still think it's quite sunken. I'm still very much feel like a bit like an imposter, like, yeah. But yeah, everybody's been really supportive, and my family have always been a big support through everything. You know, if it wasn't for them driving me back and forth to lessons and taking me to Brodie Castle to sing, or, you know, they were the ains that, you know. And my sister, she also sings as well, but she very much is, for I lack in confidence, she keeps me going and pushes me forward. So we complement each other very well.
Just a final thought in terms of the youngsters who are perhaps in the position you were a few years back. You're at school, you're beginning to find your voice, you're perhaps got an interest in music, a love for it. What would you hope that you doing this might give to those kids in terms of self-confidence and belief going forward?
So I think just because you're from a small place, it doesn't mean your voice is small. I think that being from a small place, I always think you've got less opportunity, or maybe you've got, and especially if you didn't want to move out from here like me, you know, like I very much was always like, whenever I set up home, I had to see the lights of Fogie, and I do. So I didn't want to venture far. But just because you're from a small place, it doesn't mean that, you know, your voice can't be heard and that you can't be seen and your ideas can't be big, you know. It's just a case of keeping what you enjoy being true and being true to yourself. Like, so if it's something you like to do or you want to do, be true to yourself. Let your big ideas come out, because if it's not for people with big ideas, you know, history wouldn't be the way it is. It's what shapes history, it's what shapes communities. So, you know, just be true to yourself and, you know, just let your voice be heard, because you never can what it might lead to.
One of the wonderful things about the Finn Moray Social Compact, of course, it's not just about giving performers the opportunity, but any monies raised, a large chunk of that will go back into the local community. I would imagine that's really important to you as well, isn't it?
Oh, 100%. If there's only thing that I could have been part of that could give back to Fogie, you know, it's what I would have done. So it's not the fact that I get to sing on it, it's the fact that even Fogie is getting something back for it. It means more than, you know, it means so much to me, the fact that, you know, Fogie, and again, when we're so little, I still can't believe that we're getting something for this. So definitely, it's something that it just means so much to me, and I think it's brilliant for David's doing. I think it's really, really good.
And the incredible thing is, because of the way music is streamed these days, you know that people could be sitting any part of the world listening into a song that you're singing about Fogie. It's almost mind-blowing, isn't it?
I mean, this whole thing is blowing my mind, but the fact that it could be, as you're saying, listened by, you know, someone, you know, that's just, is definitely a kind of pinch me, what is going on moment. Like, this is not my life, but it is. So, definitely, yeah, it's very exciting.
And I hear that you're actually going to be testing the song live at the weekend?
I am. So our local village is raising funds for like a sports facility in the village for ourselves. So the committee, again, here I go again with the committee, had asked, well, they actually saw the song on Fogie Folk. Now, they don't actually know that at the moment that I'm doing the song. I've only spoken to my close family about it. I've not actually mentioned, and my close friends, I've not mentioned it to anybody else. But they'd actually commented on the post and had said, oh, if it's okay with, you know, yourself, could Adele sing this at our Burns night? So they're having a Burns night this weekend. So David had replied saying, yeah, that's absolutely fine. So without them even knowing I'm doing this, I'm singing this song this weekend at the local Burns night. So I normally, the past couple of years, I've actually done the reply from the ladies. So I have then passed that on to another very known Fogie character. Her dad was actually a poet, so she's very good with her words. She's like her dad. So she's now going to do the reply from the ladies, and I'm going to do the Fogie song. So we've all came together and we've kind of organised it to be, you know, to come together. So I'm actually really excited to do that. So
I was going to ask, how do you think it is going to feel standing up on the stage, hearing Fogie singing the Fogie song? I
know. I hope I didn't cry.
You will.
I probably will. I'm hoping I don't cry halfway through. I'll probably cry at the end, but no, I think it's going to be good. I think people will enjoy it, and I think it'll be good to let them to hear it, you know, to let them hear it, and just, if it's at a Burns night, we're going to be in good spirits, we're going to be dancing the night away, so I think it'll be a perfect time to, you know, sing about Fogie, we're all for Fogie, to come together and enjoy it. So yes, very looking forward to that.
It really was genuinely wonderful to meet Adele today. So that's one song down and 14 to go. And this is where it gets interesting, because this isn't just about music. It's about belief. It's about recognising talent where it already exists and giving it the space to be heard. If you're a Scottish singer and you believe that you could sing one of the Finn Moray songs with the heart and soul that Adele has shown today, then we want to hear from you. Finn Moray is about more than finding voices. It's about making dreams come true and making sure the regions those dreams come from benefit from them. This is a project about writing, about finding talent, about turning opportunity into something real, and about making sure that when someone rises, they don't rise alone. If that resonates with you, get in touch using the email address on the screen below. Thank you for watching. And as always, please go and purchase Aeon the Call. Every song sold helps turn belief into reality and helps dreams like Adele's and the places behind them move forward together.
We still call it Fogie when the light runs low, when the sky turns pink and the lamplights glow. You can change the sign or the name on the bus. They call it Aberherder, but it's Fogey to us. It once was Fogey Lone, the moss made clear.